They play a key role in higher education, but signs show their wages are coming up short in San Diego.
I will never sell out to big beer. You can count on that.
The promise from the man who helped put San Diego on the map for craft beer, and the standard he's set in stone for the next CEO of Stone Brewing. A population rebound for the giant pandas, the work in San Diego that's helped these furry animals. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ebony Monet. Many students returning to college this semester will probably end up in classes taught by graduating teaching assistants. As part of our News and Numbers series, Chris Young from KPBS media partner iNewsSource reports these student employees working in San Diego earn wages considerably lower than their counterparts in places where the cost of living is much cheaper.
Graduate teaching assistants play an important role at universities, giving lectures, grading papers, and preparing exams. Here in San Diego, the part-time student workers earn the full-time equivalent of about $32,000 per year, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. That's about $1,000 higher than the average salary for graduate assistants statewide, but it's about $10,000 less than what they make in Utah, Nebraska, and West Virginia. Those three states pay the highest teaching assistant wages in the nation, yet they have much lower cost of living. Now, there could be many reasons for the disparity in pay. Some school systems, including the University of California, offer to pay the full cost of tuition for student employees instead of higher wages. For KPBS, I'm iNewsSource reporter Chris Young.
The race between two Democrats to succeed retiring U.S. Senator Barbara Boxer continues to be a sluggish one. KPBS investigative reporter Amita Sharma says it might even be slower if two candidates can't agree on a debate schedule.
California Attorney General Kamala Harris's Senate campaign has agreed to two debates. One was to be put on by the Sacramento Bee and was slated for September 20th. Another is co-sponsored by KABC in Los Angeles on October 5th. Harris's opponent, Congresswoman Loretta Sanchez, says she can't attend this month's debate and has not committed to the October event. Sanchez says she has agreed, however, to other debate invitations, just not the ones Harris selected.
I've agreed to 4. Why does she not agree to the ones I've agreed to? That is the question you need to be asking her.
Harris's campaign says it is finished debating debates. A Harris spokesman says that if Sanchez truly wishes to participate in one, she should show up at the KABC debate in LA on October 5th. Amita Sharma, KPBS News.
Supporters of the Lilac Hills Ranch ballot initiative plan to ask a judge to declare the opponent's ballot statements false and misleading. But KPBS North County Bureau reporter Allison St. John says opponents deny the charge.
Since most voters won't read the 600-page ballot initiative describing the Lilac Hills development in Valley Center, the wording of the short arguments for and against are crucial. Measure B would build 1,700 homes on semi-rural farmland. Supporters are challenging the opposition's arguments, saying they, quote, completely disregard the truth. At issue are things like longer fire and emergency response times and, of course, increased traffic. The opponent's argument also says that signature gatherers led people to believe that the new development would provide affordable housing for low-income families and veterans. In fact, even the developer does not use the word affordable. The word often used is attainable, since the cheapest houses would still be in the $400,000 range. One of the people who signed the opposition argument is former County Supervisor Pam Slater-Price. She says the arguments cannot be inaccurate because they're based on a report done by county staff. It specifically details the difference between the plan the developer was going to bring to the Board of Supervisors for a vote and the plan now embodied in the initiative that voters will vote on this November. There are significant differences. The Registrar of Voters must finalize all initiative ballot wording by this Friday. From the KPBS North County Bureau, I'm Allison St. John reporting.
On this Labor Day, we're taking a closer look at a study that shows San Diegans are making lower salaries and paying higher housing costs compared to many other major cities. That includes San Francisco, Denver, and Seattle. The average price to buy a home is nearly $500,000, while two-bedroom rentals are averaging $2,000 a month. The study by the Regional Chamber of Commerce shows San Diego's high cost of living is also hurting business because companies are struggling to attract the country's top talent. It blames the housing crisis on the lack of building due to environmental opposition.
Almost every housing project is having difficulty getting to the finish line, especially the larger ones. There are planned developments that are taking decades to go through the process.
The majority of households in San Diego County are spending more than 30% of their income on housing. A new poll shows growing support for the Black Lives Matter movement. The Jen Ford survey finds young people across racial and ethnic lines now support the movement, calling for accountability of police in the deaths of African Americans. 51% of white adults polled say they somewhat support or strongly support Black Lives Matter. That's up from 41% in June. But most young white people also think the movement's rhetoric encourages violence against police, while the vast majority of young black people say it doesn't. A U.S. soccer star kneels during the national anthem. Megan Rapinoe says it was a nod to Colin Kaepernick. The NFL quarterback has refused to stand for the national anthem. He says he's protesting racial injustice. As a gay American, Rapinoe says she knows what it means to look at the flag and not have it protect all of your liberties. She says she will continue to kneel in support and hopefully to spark meaningful conversations about racial issues. The White House is also weighing in on the anthem debate. The president said today Kaepernick is exercising his constitutional right.
I think he cares about some real, legitimate issues that have to be talked about. And you know, if nothing else, what he's done is he's generated more conversation around some topics that need to be talked about.
President Obama also pressed the need for more young people to become engaged in the argument, even if it gets messy or controversial. He says active citizens are better than just sitting down on the sidelines and not paying attention at all. Deputies have arrested a 17-year-old boy for starting a brush fire that threatened homes in Spring Valley. The point fire burned 25 acres last month. It forced authorities to evacuate homes, and a firefighter was injured. Authorities charged the teenager for willfully and maliciously setting fire to forest land. English, math, and CPR. Governor Jerry Brown is considering a new bill to require all public high school students to learn CPR. Midori Sporandio explains California is one of the last states to consider adding this life-saving course to the curriculum.
Push down hard and fast to a count of 100 a minute.
A 70s beat with a life-saving rhythm. CPR students are told to keep the song staying alive in their heads when they do compressions.
They need to find like a more current song because kids don't know Staying Alive.
California students may get a new theme song and the latest life-saving techniques if the governor signs off on mandatory CPR in high schools.
There's story after story of kids going home for lunch, kids having holidays with their families, and someone has a cardiac arrest, and the person who knows the compressions usually is the younger generation.
You want to look, listen, and feel?
Experts say teaching students CPR will save thousands of lives. More than 350,000 people experience heart attacks each year.
The 911 system.
It can happen on a baseball field, it can happen on a football field, it can happen in a mall, but it's all the same thing, getting on the chest as fast as possible.
Here at the state capitol, lawmakers are a little behind the rest of the country. About 34 other states have already approved mandatory CPR classes for their students. If Governor Brown signs this plan into law, it could cost the state about $10 million.
That would pay for equipment such as mannequins, preparation for real life.
It could be a parent, a relative, a cousin, or somebody that they don't know. And how wonderful is that feeling to know that you affected the life of someone else?
Experts are sure more people knowing CPR will save lives, with or without an old song. At the state capitol, Midori Sporandio reporting.
And today, hundreds of people dived into the surf at the Oceanside Pier. It's the 87th annual Labor Day Pier Swim. This is a 1-mile course around the pier. Swimmers ride a wave onto the beach and run to a finish line on the sand. The fastest time this year was by a 14-year-old boy. He finished the course in 16 minutes and 18 seconds. They're works of art made out of sand. Downtown on the B Street Pier, you can see these magnificent sand sculptures. Today is the final day to see the U.S. sand sculpting creations. Judges selected Nostalgia as the first place winner this weekend. It was created by an artist from Russia. The 4-day event brought artists from around the world, as far away as Italy and Singapore. We spoke to an artist from the Netherlands.
The sand here is crazy good. It's so strong. You can make cut-throughs and overhangs and everything. And it's a very nice team with all other sculptors who work here. We know each other very well, and it's very nice to see each other here.
The top prize, $5,000. Well, summer is almost over, but the heat is still on in San Diego. A heat wave is headed to the county this weekend. Shanae Shocker has that in tonight's forecast.
Well, for the past 6 hours, we really haven't seen much in regards to weather. It's been clear skies for the most part in Southern California, a couple of clouds popping up in the area. Now tonight, 64 degrees. We're going to go into that normal increasing cloud cover into the morning, and then it'll start to dissipate as we go throughout our day tomorrow. Tonight's forecast for the rest of the region, take a look. We're in the 60s on the coast, Oceanside sitting at 60 degrees, 64 in San Diego. Move into the higher elevations in Alpine, 49 degrees, and just inland, you can see out in Borrego Springs, 59 degrees, and Mecca, 66 degrees as well. Here's your setup for Tuesday. Take a look. You can see there's going to be some warmer air pumping into Southern California, but the northern part of the state, this jet stream is dropping, bringing some pleasant conditions right behind it as well for Tuesday. All right, here's your 5-day outlook for the coastal areas. You can see we're going to be sitting most of the time in the mid to upper 70s. Those clouds are definitely there in the mid or in the beginning of the week on Tuesday, but they'll start to drop off. Come Thursday, your high is 76 degrees. It's going to continue to be humid though, so definitely keep those air conditioners on. 64 degrees for your low. Over the weekend, you're going to be kicking off the weekend under some sunny, clear skies. So looking pretty good to go out to the beach on Friday. We're going to move inland for the most part throughout the week. You're in the low to upper 80s. So basically just sitting around the 80-degree mark. On Tuesday, 58 degrees for your low. Those lows are going to bump up a little bit as you move throughout your week into the low 60s. Once again, those clouds starting early in the week, but they're going to clear out by Thursday and Friday, giving you a nice weekend to really get out and enjoy the weather. 85 degrees, so it might be a little bit warm with the humidity in place. All right, into the mountains we go. We're in the upper 70s to low 80s for most of the week, but by the weekend, we're going to get up into the mid 80s, so those temperatures are definitely going to increase. Sunny and pleasant for your Tuesday, so a good or a bad day to go back to work after Labor Day. You won't be able to get out and enjoy that weather as much. Partly sunny on Wednesday. Thursday, 78 degrees, mostly sunny. That sunshine is going to be shining come Friday to start your work week. The desert, though, we're in the upper 90s, hitting the triple digits on Friday for your work week. That sun really beginning to shine on Saturday as well. It's sunny and it's very warm. I'm Shanae Shocker for KPBS News.
Stone Brewing is one of the largest craft breweries in the U.S. The Escondido-based company started 20 years ago. Now the co-founder and CEO is putting someone else in charge. We sat down with Greg Cook for possibly his last interview as Stone's CEO.
People were very enamored with the idea, but when the announcement just came out recently, we have gotten a substantial amount of attention.
Be amazing. It's how Greg Cook says this lush 1-acre beer garden at Stone Brewing World Bistro and Gardens in Escondido came to fruition.
Better to do it environmentally, better to do it creatively. So this is actually reject material from the local quarries.
It's also how the Stone CEO and co-founder says he and his partner have grown from a microbrewery to one of the largest craft beer companies in the world. Stone employs more than 1,200 people. Last year, Stone brewed 325,000 plus barrels of beer, a 13.4% increase from 2014. Stone was started 20 years ago by Steve Wagner, a former home brewer and Stone's first brewmaster, and Cook, a self-described beer geek and entrepreneur. Cook says their passion for making good beer has guided them ever since.
Literally any decision, small, medium, or large, with the question to yourself, what is the more amazing thing to do, the more amazing answer, the more sustainable, the more quality, et cetera, right? Do that. There you go. Do that. And that helps us be amazing, and that helps us be what we've grown into.
In addition to this 12,000 square foot brewery and restaurant in Escondido, Stone has an even bigger location in Point Loma. The craft brewer also has a presence in Pasadena, Richmond, Virginia, and its Berlin, Germany location just opened.
What's too big? Like, is there a point where you feel like it's too big, or what's your comfort level as far as the expansion goes?
We have these qualitative standards that we have set, and they are in stone and immovable. So as long as we approach every project and every expansion bit with that ideal, we're good, and we have. And I think the proof's in the pudding, that we've maybe kept those standards pretty well.
Now Stone is bringing those standards to the hospitality industry with the announcement of the Stone Hotel project.
To be in business for 20 years and to be thriving for 20 years, that's success. What successes and things have you learned from this side do you think you can bring over to the hotel?
We're going to bring a lot of what we've learned as far as really great hospitality, creating those wow moments for people, creating those over, above, and beyond elements, so that we can really create something special for people. So when you wake up in your room, you know you're not somewhere else.
Cook says Stone has been growing an average of 40% year over year since day one. But he says that's in no way an indication they're getting any closer to, as he calls it, selling out to big beer.
I will never sell out to big beer. You can count on that.
Cook thinks of craft beer as a revolution of quality. He says Stone is more about the art of making quality beer, not marketing numbers.
If we think something is awesome, we just do it that way. We don't do consumer surveys to try and figure out what the customers want, because frankly, that's based upon what's existing out there.
Cook has been the captain of this independent organic ship since Stone opened in San Diego in 1996. Now he says he's driven the business side of the company as far as he can take it. He wants to focus on the art, the taste, color, and layers that make a beer Stone. We spoke to him months into the company's search for his replacement, days before the new CEO was named.
That was at that point the largest company I'd ever worked for. So I don't have a lot of experience. You can say I have 20 years of experience with this, and that I don't have a lot of experience with this. We're actually not looking for somebody from the beer industry. We understand beer. We got that part down pretty well. We're looking for somebody with additional business experience that they can bring to the equation.
And as it turns out, after nearly a year-long search, the man selected to take over Stone's business reins doesn't come from the world of hops. Dominic Ingalls ran the European and Middle East operation for Palm Wonderful and Wonderful Pistachios. Cook and his partner are counting on him to take Stone farther than two friends connected by a mutual appreciation for good beer who've developed an internationally recognized taste and brand using the business plan of simply be amazing.
Ingalls takes over as CEO tomorrow, and Cook will move upstairs. His new title is Executive Chairman. Two new additions at the Atlanta Zoo with the welcoming of twin pandas. They were born over the weekend about 1 hour apart. Officials say they're the first giant pandas born in the U.S. so far this year, and their mother Loon Loon's second set of twins. She was artificially inseminated in March. Global conservation efforts, including those right here in San Diego, are paying off. Giant pandas are no longer endangered. The iconic creatures were removed from the endangered species list this weekend. KPBS reporter Jean Guerrero has more.
Giant pandas are now considered vulnerable instead of endangered. That means their numbers are no longer dwindling, though climate change still poses a major threat to their habitat. The reclassification was inspired by a San Diego Zoo report. It showed that giant pandas have increased in number from under 1,000 in the 1980s to nearly 2,000 today.
We work with several different species.
Rick Schwartz of San Diego Zoo Global says the new designation is a great sign for pandas and their human admirers.
It shows us our work is on the right track. I don't want people, though, to think because they're considered not endangered anymore, only vulnerable, that they're A-OK. There's still plenty of work that needs to be done for these species.
Schwartz says the San Diego Zoo will continue doing research to help worldwide conservation efforts. The San Diego Zoo has been investigating the giant pandas' mating and reproduction patterns in collaboration with other zoos and the Chinese government.
And that's probably the big message right here. If you look at the Panda Research Program, it is a collective group of people around the world working together for this kind of success, and it's kind of a model for what we need for success for other research as well.
The Chinese government disputed the removal of the giant panda from the endangered species list, saying it's a step backward that could make conservation efforts relax. But most conservationists are celebrating the move. Jean Guerrero, KPBS News.
A friendly dog can put a smile on your face. That's the concept behind Love on a Leash. As KPBS health reporter Kenny Goldberg shows us, the North County group takes man's best friend to virtually any place where people could use an emotional pick-me-up.
On a weekday afternoon at the Georgina Cole Library in Carlsbad, one of the biggest stars of Love on a Leash arrives in his SUV.
All right, let's go. Good boy, we're going to work. You ready to go to work? I'm going to go see some friends.
Bosley is a 170-pound English Mastiff. His head is as big as a watermelon. If he growled at you, you'd probably have a heart attack. But Bosley would never growl at anyone. He's as gentle as they come.
Wait for me, wait.
And so are the other Love on a Leash dogs, like Zuni and Pixie. Today's mission? To sit quietly and let kids read to them.
Hi.
These dogs bring a smile to everyone's face. After all, that's their job. They're therapy dogs. Unlike service dogs, which are trained to perform tasks for people with disabilities, therapy dogs are trained to just be sweet companions. Zuni's owner, Bonnie Biggs, says therapy dogs need to have a certain temperament.
Dogs that pretty much are happy to be around people, that aren't aggressive with other dogs because they do visits together. So you've seen that a number of dogs do this visit. And that love children, and love old people, and love all kinds of people.
You might say they're in the love business. They give it and they get it in return. Biggs says there's actually some science behind the feeling you get when you're around a friendly dog. It involves the hormone oxytocin.
When you pet a dog, they have measured increased levels of oxytocin, which is an affiliative hormone. You feel comfort, safety, affection, and love when oxytocin is going through your body. They're now finding that there's a feedback loop between dogs and people, so that the dog is also showing increased levels of oxytocin in their body when they're being petted.
All of the people involved with Love on a Leash are volunteers. There are 700 members in San Diego County and more than 2,000 nationwide. At this event, while the kids practice reading aloud, the dogs just hang out and listen. Children's Services Library Assistant Kylie Seal says the dogs don't criticize anyone.
They're not, like, hey, oh, this is how you pronounce that word. They don't even know their ABCs, so they're not going to test you on anything.
The dogs don't fight, bite, or bark. You never hear a peep out of them. That's because they've been exceptionally well trained. Each Love on a Leash dog has to know all of the basic commands, like sit and stay. They must also pass a rigorous evaluation by a certified dog trainer. Then they must go on 10 supervised visits to prove that they can get along with other dogs. Melissa Cantanilla says Bosley's first visit was a disaster.
We went to a VA hospital, and he wasn't quite clear about what his job was, and he pulled me through the hospital. It was kind of a mess. He saw other dogs there, and he thought he was there to play with the other dogs. But after the 10 visits, he got it. He understands now. We put on the vest, we put on the bandana, we're going to go to work, and he knows his job is to do this.
The Brookdale Assisted Living Community in Oceanside is another frequent stop on the Love on a Leash circuit. Brookdale residents just love the animals. One resident, Robert Albert, is prompted to sing the praises of a dog named Daisy.
Daisy, Daisy, tell me your answer true. I'm half crazy over the love of you.
Every Tuesday afternoon, a big group of Love and a Leash dogs visit the Wounded Warriors Battalion at Camp Pendleton. This battalion is made up of some 150 Marines who are recovering from serious injuries. They have to put in a lot of work to restore their health. Corporal Caden Gossard says the dogs are a big help.
A lot of guys here are just always suffering. I know I am. It's a hard time on your own, trying to get better, but they come and they brings memories of home, bring memory of like how much you loved when you had a dog at home. It just makes you feel better inside.
Bubba, a chocolate lab, is a big hit here. His owner, Marion Knowles, says she loves coming to the base.
It's so neat when you see the Marines getting down on the floor with the dogs and just giving and receiving love. It's really, really cool. It makes the day.
Knowles says she recently took Bubba to see some friends who were going through a rough patch. She says a little time with Bubba did the trick.
Better than drugs, I would say. It really is amazing.
Kenny Goldberg, KPBS News.
You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.